beautiful Midland, Texas. My buddy Dwight Habey, same gentleman that I went to the tack drive with. Doing a little circumcision on the tails of our flags. A little bit too long, dragging on the ground. He's doing some precision surgery on there. Hopefully you don't chop a finger off. Found one rattlesnake out here already this morning. Well, here's Stan Lewis. This is the 2025 Buffalo. He said he's going to win it. You can see he's got the State Molly jacket, so that guarantees a win. Is this your gun, Stan?
No, sir. That is Joe Keen's.
Okay, I'm sorry. Where's yours? Oh.
It's
It's hard to win without a gun. And we got Kevin Love here, new shooter. Another guy said he's going to win it. And we have our club president right here, Cody Engel. If he was here, you'd see his gun here with his rest. New Braunfels club president, Cody Engel.
Oh, time to go.
There you go, you heard it. Calling shooters to the line. Dickie Pachowski, longtime shooter. He's also one of the referees. Mike Bryant.
Is everybody here?
Yeah.
Is everybody ready? Would y'all check your targets and make sure they're correct?
Here's our new NBRSA President Mike Conry. What do you got to say, Mike?
Hi.
Well, this is known as the Wailing Wall in Benchrest, where they post the groups for everybody to see. Like I said, it's pretty windy out here. You can tell by the groups. Bunch of 3s, 4s, 4s, 5, 390. Ooh, look at that one. That's what we call a satellite. You got one group orbiting the planet of groups. 129, 225, not too bad. 130, 380, 238, Gary Bristow, and some other ones. There's mine. I shot a nice 155. 440, 264, 180. Anyways, all pretty good groups. Anyways, that's the Wailing Wall. As you can see, the conditions are getting rougher and tougher. There's the competitors right there. Just in case how we post them. Then we'll look at the standings currently. I moved up to 4th place. We're all hanging in there. John Horn, who used to head up the club in Seymour, he's got a beautiful 62 in all these conditions. The wind gods are on his side. Our winner, John Horn. Could you tell us a little bit about your gun, John?
Yeah, it shoots better than I do.
What cartridge? PPC?
6 PPC.
Powder?
29.8 of Vitivory, 133,
And what neck are you shooting in that gun?
262.
262. That's kind of uncommon nowadays, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everybody's
it is.
shooting the big, thicker necks.
Yeah.
You shooting whose bullets?
Chuck Miller's
Chuck
out of
Miller?
Arizona.
65 boat tails? Or?
65 boat tails.
Okay, primers?
205, man, Federal 205.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Good shooting. Keep it up. Get of your take on the match this weekend.
Well, I'm going to take a
Sunday morning at the Buffalo. Sun's coming up. Wind's coming up. Targets are moved out to 200 yards.
Now I know who put that little thing on my...
You can see the wind is getting it pretty good. Nice big berms over the back of the range so we don't throw shots into one of the big oil wells and start a fire that Red Adair has to put out.
Would you all like to start just a little early, being everybody looks...
Here's what happens when two people can't afford a gun, they have to share one. Kevin and Cody
Good morning.
and Joe back there.
Getting ready to have a blast.
It's gonna be fun.
So there's our club president, New Braunfels, and there's the new guy.
Kevin William Love the first.
Well, what's Kevin shooting this morning? Can you describe the gun you're shooting?
Yeah, speedy built, bat DS, heavy varmint, Scarborough stock, and I don't know what trigger it is, but anyway,
That's a Vixen Andy.
there you go. And just excited for the day.
Mark
Can't wait.
scope, two Sebras, a black one and a red one.
Red's best.
Ooh, and here's a good one, an old SG rest right here. An oldie but goodie. Joe, you got anything to say?
I don't have much to say. I just hope I shoot better today.
Perfect. Well, it's all over but the crying.
Number 4, Mike Conry, 2898. Number 3, Mike Bryant, 2802. Number 2, Cherry Horner, 2790. Is it Cherry?
There you go, Barry.
Cherry.
Thank you.
Number 1, John Horn, 2058. Oh, John Horn.
Good job, John.
082.
082.
Get back up, John. You're not done.
Gary,
You're gonna come back. Small group.
thank you.
Light Farmer 200. Number 10, Kevin Love, 4178. Number 8, Mike Conry, 3774. Number 7, Rusty Morgan, 3652-54. Number 6, Trey Reed, 3622. Number 5, Jerry Briscoe, 3189. Number 4, Steve Murphy, 3000 and stuff. Number 3 is Speedy Gonzalez, 2839.
How you get a video taking your own money?
Yeah.
Number 2, John, 2769.
You just stay there. Hook you up.
Number 1, John Horn, 2752.
All right.
Speedy Gonzalez, 294.
Thank you.
I haven't seen one all weekend in there. You're welcome to go in there.
Well, if you haven't seen it, it's not there. 2978. Number 2, Speedy Gonzalez, 2914. Murphy, 3620. Number 3, Scott Haywood, 3354.
Hey, Scott.
Number 2, John Horn, 3122.
Oh, Scott.
Number 1, Everett Horner with a 2956.
You're sure gonna have a silver mine by the time it's through.
Small group is Everett Horner with a 193.
Come on, Mike.
Everett Horner with a 3091. Number 3 is Scott Haywood with a 38. Number 2 is Mike Conry with a 2886. Number 1 is Cody Engel with a 27.
Hey, Cody! Hey!
Don't forget to tell him it's his birthday.
Yes, happy birthday.
New Braunfels
Small group, Everett
President.
Horner, 293.
There you go.
4, Mike Conry, 3345.
Yeah, Mikey.
Number 3, John Horn. Make sure they get it. Okay. Yes, thank you very much. Number 3, John Horn, 3251. Number 2, Scotty Haywood, 3276.
Hey, Scott.
Number 1, Everett Horner.
Scott makes all the 3D printed products. I'll show you some shortly.
Oh, yeah. I might have to stand up for that one, Everett.
There you go, Everett. Look at the camera, man.
Yeah. Wave.
3340.
Hey, Mikey.
Number 4, Speedy Gonzalez. Number 3, Steve Murphy with a 3250.
Hey, Steve.
Number 2, Everett Horner, 3010. Number 1, John Horn with a 620.
Hey, John.
And the trophy.
Grace the halls of the Midland Gun Range.
Well, here's the end. Here's all the results. If you can see them, I don't know if you can zoom in on this, or if my daughter can make it more legible. Hey, this is Speedy Gonzalez. We're doing a little video on the first registered match held in Texas. It's the Buffalo Shoot. It's a Benchrest match held by the Midland Shooters Association. With us tonight, we've got 3 guests. We've got the President and Hall of Fame member, Mike Conry of the NBRSA. We've got Cody Engel, the President of the Hill Country Shooters Association in New Braunfels, Texas. It's going to say a few words to us and describe the range of some of the matches we're holding there. And then we've got Kevin Love, a new shooter that may ask questions during the match, just as some of the viewers and new shooters who may be thinking about participating in Benchrest. And we encourage him to ask questions anywhere along the way. And maybe you guys that are new to Benchrest may get some of the questions answered for you. You've got 2 Hall of Fame members and a future Hall of Fame member, and I think Kevin wants to become a Hall of Fame member. So anyway, I'm going to introduce Mike Conry, the president of the National Benchrest Shooters Association. How you doing, Mike?
Good. Yourself?
Great.
I'm Mike Conry. I'm the president of the National Benchrest Shooters Association. I live in Midland, Texas. I shoot at Midland Shooters Association here in Midland. Between myself and Scott Haywood, we put on the matches here. We have a couple of registered matches we shoot that are affiliated with the NBRSA. We shoot 2 every year. We shoot a match that we just finished called the Buffalo Shoot. We shoot 2 classes, light varmint and heavy varmint. The match we shoot in July is we shoot for the Texas State. We shoot the unlimited and the heavy varmint. We'll shoot that the second weekend in July. Now I'll talk about classes a little bit. What we're talking about is group shooting. In other words, the idea is to put either 5 or 10 shots through the same hole. And it sounds terrible, but it's really not. In the unlimited class, typically you shoot 10 shots. By unlimited, there are no real restrictions. It needs to be a safe operating gun. It needs to be a single shot. Most people that shoot unlimited shoot what is termed as a return to battery gun. In other words, when you shoot the gun, when you push it back up, it's aiming exactly the same place it was. So all you really have to worry about is how well you're able to tune that gun to shoot through one hole, and then worry about the wind conditions in front of you. We have flags out there for that. The other three classes are all shot with what's commonly referred to as a bag gun. The heavy varmint class is a 13.5-pound gun. Light varmint class is a 10.5-pound gun. And the sporter class is also a 10.5-pound gun. However, they allow different variations on stock design and caliber choice.
So the unlimited gun, that's also what we refer to as the rail guns. Isn't that correct, Mike?
That's correct. Mostly because they slide on guiding means or rails. You have a base that has windage and elevation adjustments on it, and then you have a top that rides on top of it. And there's rails on that top. That's where they get the name.
Sometimes it's a misconception when you see a rail gun. You would say, if I had a rail gun like that or a gun like that, it'd be easy for me to shoot 10 shots into a hole like that. But there's nothing worse in the sport than a bad shooting rail gun. Isn't that correct?
It could be pretty frustrating. The other thing about a rail gun is all it does is take the shooter's ability to aim the gun out of his hands and puts it into the gun. You still have to tune the gun to shoot through a hole, and you still have to watch the wind conditions. If you want to learn how to shoot this game, a rail gun is one of the best tools because it takes the human error right out of it. A good shooting rail gun does.
As Mike said, a rail gun could be one of the most frustrating guns you'll ever shoot. A good example is the rail gun that Cody Engel, our president here at the Hill Country Shooters Association, purchased. After 3 matches, the shooter was so frustrated, he almost gave it to Cody. You want to say something about that, Cody?
Yes, I was been looking for a rail gun, and one of the local club shooters there, he got a really nice rail gun, a Kinsler, and he shot it a couple of times. An older gentleman, Sonny, and he got frustrated with it and made me a heck of a deal. And I understand the frustration because I've been struggling. It's a good setup, but learning that rail gun is a little difficult. I'm still working on that.
Yeah, a railgun can also be a good teacher if you don't have a mentor around, because it can show you how to read the conditions, since you can pay 100% attention to the conditions. They can really show you how to do load development, because when you're shooting 10-shot groups, you wind up shooting that bell curve, the best and the worst and the mean of the ammunition that you're feeding into that gun. So even though they're kind of intimidating, look like something from outer space, they are, to me, one of the hardest guns to shoot well when it comes to aggregates when they're not shooting good.
You need a good rail gun. You need a gun that will return to the same place every time. And then you need to learn to trust the gun. If you don't trust the gun, there's no point in having a gun that returns to battery.
Yeah, Cody had some of the trust issues when he first got his and took it out to Midland the first time. I think that's where it was, wasn't it?
It was. I got everything lined up, did my siders, and went to the top, and I just started shooting, and had about 3 or 4 shots down there, and the wind condition changed. So I looked down through the scope, and my crosshair wasn't where it started. And I think I still had 3 shots, and they're like an 1.5 inch group. And I was like, oh, you. And after that, I would shoot, look back through the scope, and I didn't trust that thing. Though I still have trust issues with it. It hasn't moved since, but I still want to look through the scope.
Yeah. We've got Kevin Love here. He's one of the new shooters in the club. Kevin jumped in it with both feet. He bought a rail, a sporter, a lathe, a mill. Well, actually, he bought 4 lathes because one wasn't good enough, and so he's going to start fitting his own barrel. Oh, he also bought a set of bullet making dies. Like I said, he's in on it 100%.
Yeah, I'm.
Give us your description of your first railgun match.
I think that was in Lubbock last year. I think, is that right, Lubbock? Mm-hmm. Yeah, last year was my first year starting, and I did the club matches, and Speedy's like, well, you're gonna do the Gulf Coast Series, and I was like, yep, I guess, sure, I'll go. And I can only learn, so I think we went to one, we went to Midland, and I tell you that 30 minutes reloading, I'm still struggling with that. I think Tim beats me to the line still sometimes.
Dr.
Everybody
Tim.
always waits on me. I'm sorry, guys. But anyway, that first match, and then I think the second match, yeah, when we went to Lubbock, I guess, or third match, uh, I didn't really shoot it that much. 'Cause I had some buildings under construction at home and just busy. And but I did get to shoot it a little bit. And when I took it out, I think I shot a screamer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
at 100 yards.
that was that first. Yeah, that was that first match. I didn't even know what a screamer was, and I just knew it looked good. And it was 10 shots, and I was like, "Wow, man, I like this gun." And but it was love and hate. I think that 100 yards, I got like a penalty at like 10 inches. I think my trigger, I got some powder in it, so I missed out on one of the matches, and I got a 10-inch penalty. But overall, I think I shot the rail okay. I'd never done it before, especially in a match, and it was fun. It was a blast, and I haven't shot it as much as I'm going to. But like you say, it takes a gun, it takes a bag out, it takes a lot of different things out. So I think it makes perfect sense. You can totally focus on the wind, and because the wind is just it shocked me the first time I started shooting Benchrest. Last year, just how much the wind moves the gun. Because when I think it's in tune, and I'm still learning about all that, I don't really know a whole lot, but I'm trying. I'm trying real hard. But the wind just moves you what seems to be a ridiculous amount.
That's
And
really because of the bullets we're shooting have such a low ballistic coefficient. Mike, you've traveled all over the world representing the U.S. Benchrest teams. Uh, with the rifles that we have here in America, we're kind of blessed of having all the best of the components, the stocks, the barrels, the scopes, with the exception of a March, if you want to include that, and the triggers. But as you're traveling around, do you see any contrast between the equipment other countries are using, and how the Benchrest shooters are received around the world?
Well, as far as equipment goes, when I was in France, I saw some actions that I hadn't seen before that were made in Europe. Apparently, they shoot pretty good. The Italians were shooting some stuff. They were shooting pretty good with their stuff. The Canadians, the Australians, people like that typically shoot stuff that's made in the United States. Surprisingly enough, competitively across the world, there are countries that are quite good at this. There are people that think that the United States is always a shoe-in. We're not always a shoe-in. The Canadians are going to field a good team this year. The Australians will field a good team this year. Those are two right now that I know of that will have good teams there.
What do you feel that might be one of the components made in America that's kind of universal? Would you say the jackets that are being used and the bullets are made around the world, or you don't hear too much about barrels being made in Europe that are used in competition? At one time, there were some barrels there's some good barrels being made in Canada, that's for sure.
Yeah, there's good barrels made in Canada. The Aussies, they have a barrel maker down there that makes good barrels. The ones in Europe, I'm thinking for the most part, shoot barrels made in the United States.
Right. Weren't you shooting a couple of the barrels made in Canada by Hugh at one time, or testing them?
Yeah, I've shot some and they shoot really well. I shot that, what was it, a 15 ag at the Blue Bonnet last year. That was a Hugh Williamson barrel. That was a Canadian barrel.
Yeah.
Good barrel.
It was a 14 ag, Mike. I remember.
Was it 14?
It was. Oh, that 1 yardage was. Oh, yeah.
That was a good
That's
barrel.
how I got beat last year. That was you.
Yep.
Well, let's go ahead and take Mike out of the conversation, talk to these other two guys. Can you describe what it took to get into the world team to represent the U.S.?
To get in the world team, they have 5 regional qualifiers. They will take the light varmint and the heavy varmint, those 2 classes. The qualifiers will shoot those 2 classes, and you get 1 point for every person you beat up to 60, I believe, is the maximum you can get at a regional qualifier. So if there's 61 shooters there and you win the grand, which is 100-yard, 200-yard combined, if there's 61 shooters there, you get 60 points. If you were 5th, you get 56 because 4 people beat you. You lose 4 points. Anyhow, you get the best 3 matches to accumulate points as far as consideration for a world team, and they take the top 12. Now, when you shoot the nationals, they give full value. In other words, they don't limit the number of points you can get. So if you have 150 shooters there in those 2 classes, there's roughly 150 points available in each class. So it kind of makes it to where you really need to shoot the nationals to make the team. I had pointed really well at the regional matches this last year, and like really well. And that still wasn't enough. I still would have had to shot the nationals and showed up and shot well there to get on the team. But they'll field.
Are you in the current world team shooting in St. Louis later?
Yes, I am. Yeah, there's 3 teams that are fielded: Team 1, Team 2, Team 3, based on how you placed or how you squatted, if you will. And I'm on Team 1. I think I'm the 3rd spot on Team 1.
Well, congratulations. That's pretty good accomplishment because you're with the creme de la creme on the first team. That's the red, white, and blue team. Which is the first team?
That's it. Noel, yeah, any of the teams can win, okay? In France, I believe Team 2 won gold. Team 1 won silver. Just because that's how it squads doesn't mean there aren't really capable shooters
right
on the other 2 teams.
Well,
any one of the teams is capable of winning. Do what?
You never know when somebody on that team is going to get hot, regardless of what team they're on.
That's right. And they wouldn't be there if they weren't good shooters.
Well, and what about those who, like myself, when I got into Benchrest, I read the book by Warren Page, The Accurate Rifle. And when I saw the Hall of Fame, I just had to be in that thing. I don't know why. I was just driven to get in it. You know, I had a number of years there when my daughter had her birthday on the same week that the Nationals always fell on. So for 16 years, I kind of set the Nationals out because, you know, she wanted me there. And after she turned 16, it was like, okay, Dad, you can go do whatever you want, you know. But I think Kevin's made some talks about possibly working towards the Hall of Fame. I think he's already made a great investment into winning something. And I know Cody's been talking about the Nationals. What does it take to get into the Hall of Fame?
Persistence, shoot against yourself, find equipment that shoots well, and learn how to use it. Learn how not to make mistakes. That's probably the biggest thing. The person that makes the least mistakes usually comes out on top.
Yeah, that's what I've always told Cody when we're talking about how to shoot and all that. Yeah, I don't ever try to shoot any little groups. I just try not to shoot those big ones.
Yep.
He practiced that. Cody was the 200-yard winner of the heavy varmint at the Buffalo shoot, and he practiced that pretty well. He just kept seeing everybody else drop by the wayside, and he didn't make those mistakes over the course of the morning. You want to talk a little bit about that, Cody?
Yeah, that was exactly what happened. You know, it was a 2-day match. The first day was 100 yards up in Midland, and I didn't shoot very well. It was very windy, and so the Sunday was a 200-yard match.
And your birthday.
And it was my birthday. So, you know, I went to took a couple loads up to the Saturday morning. It was windy again, like it always is up in Midland, and picked the load and shot that load. And slowly I increased it a couple times over the course of that those 5 matches, and just didn't shoot any really small groups, but I didn't shoot any big ones. My biggest one was a 620, and ended up on top. And I didn't even know I was there until you stopped by and said, "Hey, I think Mike just shot a 9. You might have a chance." And then the nerves hit, and I was like, "Oh my God, don't blow this!" And luckily I didn't, and I got that win at that yardage.
Yeah, Mike and I were talking about those 2 9s that we shot at 200 yards that morning.
They call them birthday gifts. That's what they said. Look at those birthday gifts we gave you.
We really shot those just to celebrate your birthday.
I appreciate it.
I shot mine trying to wish a shot in there, and Mike shot his trying to wish a shot out of there.
That's right.
But those are some pretty tough conditions. You had to choose between 2 rifles that morning, didn't you?
I did. I had both rifles. I had planned on shooting one, and I figured I brought the other one for a backup. They were both light varmints, so I could. And I decided to shoot the backup one just to test it and get it ready, and it shot really well. So then, the dilemma: which one do you shoot? You got confidence in them both, and one set up a little different. It's got the stock and the trigger I like a little better than the other gun, so I went with it, and that's what I got the win with.
And what can you describe that rifle for the viewers?
Yeah, it's a light varmint based on a Scoville with the Bat DS action, Dixon anti-trigger. I shoot a Night Force fixed 42 scope. I had a brand new barrel on there, a Bartline gain twist, 13.65 to 13.5. And it rides the bags really well, a little bit better than my other gun. And shooting my own bullets, 68 boat tails that I've been making for a couple of years.
Okay, that was my next question: is if you were shooting your own bullets in there?
Well, you twisted my arm starting to make my bullet, so I went down that rabbit hole. And of course, like most of us, I had all these other bullets that I sold every one of them. I said, if I'm going to go down this rabbit hole, I'm going to shoot my bullets. So I sold all the other bullets I had, and I said, I'm going to sink or swim. And it's been a journey, but I'm sticking with it.
Well, you got to admit though, when you win with something that you had a hand in making, that bullet's the last thing between us and the target. That's usually pretty good sense of accomplishment. Besides the win, I made this that helped me do that win.
Yes.
I make my own bullets. I know Mike does. The dies that you're using, Mike, what ogive and who's the die maker?
They're Dex dies. I believe it's a 710 ogive. It's a double radius bullet. It's a boat tail. Shoot 68 grain boat tails.
All right. What length boat tail do you use on your bullets?
65 thousandths, I believe.
Okay. And his boat tails, are you using his punches? Are they 14 degree or do you know?
Nah, it should be 13. 13 bow, 65.
Yeah, I just know the last dies that I've seen that he made all the boat tails came out with 14-degree punches. I asked him why, and he said, just to be different. So, for no really ballistic advantage. And what about you, Kevin? You got a set of dies. I think yours are same 7 and 10.5 ogive, aren't they?
That's what you told me, sir. Yeah, they're made by you. So I appreciate you getting me on those. It's I think I got a good bullet. At least when I don't make a bunch of mistakes, I can shoot really good. It's been a process. It's there's a lot to learn about making a bullet. It's not, at the end of the day, it's not that hard, but I don't know. It probably has a lot to do with all the things I've taken on at one time, but I've enjoyed making it. It is pretty satisfying, and I've always heard, and I believe it, you got to have a good bullet. So.
Well, that first batch of bullets you made, that's what you took them to the unlimited match up in Lubbock time and shot the small group with them. That was probably pretty satisfying.
Yeah. I think I actually shot small group once with my light varmint, and then with the rail. Yeah. So I believe I've got good bullets.
Well,
So
when you can shoot good 10-shot groups with a bullet, that's usually a pretty good indication it's a pretty good bullet. What about you, Cody? You're what? This is your second year making bullets?
Second year, very similar to Mike. I got the Dutch dies, the 710 ogive. I'm making them off of J4 825 jackets. I do have some Heinz 820s. I'm thinking about trying some, but jumping around can get confusing. Sometimes I want to make sure I make those bullets as best as I can before I jump ship and try a different jacket or a different course eater. But I've had good luck. My problem with them is being consistent from batch to batch, and I'm struggling with that. I think I'm getting a grip on it.
What about you, Mike? If you had a tip for the bullet makers out there, we're going to do a video on bullet making, and if you had a tip for novice bullet makers, even some of the guys who've been making them for quite a while, there's a difference between a good bullet and a bullet that's a world beater.
I would make bullets. I would keep good records of what I did, because if you make good bullets, you'll make them and you'll find some that'll shoot better than others. And if you don't know what you did to make them, it's going to be hard to replicate that again. It's my belief that there's a number of good dies out there. The die makers we have nowadays make good dies. Okay. The real trick is to learn how to shoot the bullets that you make. Learn what the tendencies are, where to put them in the lands, how much powder to shoot. Whenever, every bullet will tune a little different. So when your gun starts going out of tune, different bullets, you'll do different things to them to get the gun back in tune. Learning things of that nature is worth a lot. But yeah, keeping good records on what you do,
Yeah,
keep it simple.
when I first started making bullets, you can have the best dies in the world, and then you can make the world's worst bullets on them. And so when you're making bullets, I've heard you say that you swedge your own cores. Is that correct?
That's correct.
You don't buy any of the cores that are available by some of the vendors?
No, I don't. And I don't know that it's not because the cores are like Charlie Hood. Charlie Hood makes as good a cores. I get beat by bullets made with Charlie Hood cores regularly. So you can't say the cores are bad. What I'm saying is I started out making bullets with pure lead, and a lot of the other bullet makers use lead with just a little bit of antimony in them, makes the lead just a little bit harder.
Right.
And making a bullet is a little bit different with a little bit harder lead. The process is a little different. The feel's a little different. I'm just accustomed to making bullets with pure lead, so that's what I do.
Right.
Now, that being said, I know a lot of people that beat me with bullets made on hood cores.
Yeah. Well, I said when I first started making bullets, the lead that was available to us was pure lead. Crown Metal sold lead with I think it was 0.5% antimony, and then I used to buy all my lead from Walt Berger that was alloyed with tin instead of antimony, because it was a more homogeneous blend throughout the entire pour, where the lead with antimony in it. Even the people who make the lead wire will tell you that the bottom pour is different than the top pour, because that antimony separates into layers as it's starting to get to the bottom of the bucket. When have you ever made any bullets with antimony in it, and you see any difference in the shrink rate? Every time I've made bullets with pure lead, the bullets seem to shrink a little bit more than the ones that I get from Charlie Hood nowadays, just because I don't have time to swedge them. And plus, I hate to swedge it.
I hate making bullets. I'd rather watch grass grow. But that's just me. If you want good bullets, you're going to make them. That's
Yep.
my belief. Now, that being said, yeah, I think that the soft lead, the bullets, when you swedge the bullet, if you measure the bullet a day or two after you swedge it, it'll probably move just a little bit more with pure lead than it will with bullets that are made with cores that have antimony in them. I don't think they shrink quite as much.
Do you
Mike,
When you
My,
prep your cores to seat, do you wash them or do you seat them wet?
I wash them. That being said, I don't know that they have to be squeaky clean.
Well, I
I
know
mean,
that the pure lead bullets, for people who've never made them, that they also call it corrosive lead because if you expose it to the air after you wash them, they'll start to oxidize and get that grayish powdery feel on the outside. And a lot of the bullet makers in the past said that that was a benefit. They used to wash them in spick and span and some of the other solvents to actually cause them to start that corrosion earlier in their life, and they felt that powdery substance that would form or like corrosion on the outside would hold the core better in the jacket. Which I've shot them both ways. I've shot them wet, shot them with that being washed in spick and span or some of the other solvents that they use, and I really have had better luck with cores that are more on the wet side. What about you? Because when you said they weren't squeaky clean, that means they may have a little bit of lubricant left on them.
yeah, there's a lot of people that'll wash them in something like Coleman fuel. Coleman fuel has oil in it. If it didn't have oil in it, you couldn't see it burn.
Right.
So by definition, there's a little bit of lubricity left into it. Now, whenever I squirt off cores, you lubricate your cores before you squirt them.
Right.
And whenever I squirt off cores, I will leave the lubricant on them. I'll leave the oil on them until I get ready to use them. Then when I get ready to use them, I wash them in something like Coleman fuel, and
Right.
it gets the majority of the
Lubricant.
the oil off of them. Doesn't get it all off. I mean, when you feel them, they don't feel dry to your hand,
Right.
but they're not oily. I mean, you roll them around on a towel, you're not going to get anything off of them.
Oh, you leave them wet after you swedge them just so they won't oxidize.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want them to oxidize. I mean, there's two schools of thought. One school says that it gives the core tooth and hangs onto the jacket.
Right.
The other one is by the time you force it into that shape in the bullet and then you force it into a barrel, which, I mean, you're deforming the bullet when it goes in. I mean, it's a press fit. That jacket's not going anywhere.
Right.
That core's not going anywhere. It's going to stay put.
What about you, Cody? You played around. Have you tried both ways, or you just been doing one particular way?
One particular way, I buy the swage cores and and then I rinse those in mineral spirits, and so that cleans them. I do the rinse 2 or 3 times in the mason jars, and it's amazing how those first couple of rinses, how dirty they are. But at the end, they still have that little bit, like Mike was saying, that Coleman fuel and mineral spirits both have that little bit of oil left in it, and that's what I go with.
Okay, and Kevin, he's made bullets twice, so he's still in the infancy of everything that you can possibly do wrong to a bullet.
About 5 times now, sir. I think I'm up to about 5. Mike, I was wondering, from the time that you seat your cores to the time you point up, how strict are you on the amount of time? In other words, do you do it within 5 hours, 24 hours plus or minus 5 hours? Are you strict about that? Or sometimes you'll get to it the next day or 2 days, or how do you do that?
I usually don't point them up on the same day that I core seat them. But that being said, a few years ago, I didn't have any bullets to shoot in Lubbock, so I went and made some bullets. I made a couple of hundred, and I core seated them and went to town and got me a coat and came back and pointed them up.
That's enough.
And probably won the match.
A friend of mine said, "So how'd they shoot?" I said, "I won a 2-gun. They couldn't have been too bad."
Yep.
So,
Of course.
I mean, I can't say that you have to let them rest. There are people that contend that it helps. I've done it both ways, and I've shot them well both ways.
Well, I've been in the same boat. I thought I had some extra bullets when I got home. The cupboard was bare, and I've had to make some almost as I was going out the door to the match, so I know how that is. Uh, you were mentioning the light guns that we shoot, or the bag guns that we shoot in Benchrest, Mike. Uh, what do you feel is important to setting up the bags for those particular guns that we're shooting off the shoulder rather than the rail type? You know, for
Okay.
stock preparation, do you put stock tape? Do you run them, raw? What type of stock tape do you use and why? And how do you fill the bags and with what materials?
Okay. All my guns wear stock tape for two reasons. Number one, it doesn't scratch up the paint. If I ever get ready to sell the gun, I can pull the stock tape off and the paint still looks good. It also tends to ride the bags more consistently as opposed to riding on. I mean, I use Teflon stock tape. Okay. It's that brown stuff. And it'll be the same day in and day out. If you don't put stock tape on it, now you're kind of dependent on waxing the gun or doing something else. If you're not doing that, the urethane on the gun is what it's sliding on, and that changes quite a bit. Bags I just fill with regular sand, beach sand in the front bag, if I can find it.
Yep.
Something like that. I don't fill them real hard. You'll get away with more things with a softer feeling bag than you will with a hard bag. A hard bag, like it or not, these guns jump around when you shoot them. They move. And with a hard bag, they tend to bounce, and you tend to get shots you don't know where they come from. With a softer bag, you don't get as much of it. Now, the rear bag, I like to make the bottom pretty firm. I like to make the ears where the gun actually rides. I like it to be kind of soft. I like it to have a little pliability, but it needs to be firm enough that the gun will kind of track back the same place every time. You just kind of got to find that balance. There again, I'll usually put what they term heavy sand in the bottom, but I just put beach sand or something like that in ears. Something that doesn't
Kind
pack
of
off.
like a shock absorber in a way.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, or it's almost like when you hunt. I used to guide hunters, and I would tell them, when you shoot your gun, put a glove down and then put the gun on the glove. It keeps the gun from bouncing when you shoot. And to a greater or lesser degree, this is the same sort of a thing. If you have a hard bag, the gun's going to bounce. So your shots won't go where you want them to. With a softer bag, it tends to absorb some of that, and the shots tend to go more where you want them to.
Yeah, and in our conversations in the past, you've mentioned that unlike a lot of shooters that shoot a pretty loose gun in their bags, and let the gun freely slide back into them under free recoil. You like to more pin your gun and have the front rest grip your gun to a greater degree.
Okay, on the front bag, I close the ears in to where the gun can't move side to side, but I don't really want a whole lot of resistance back and forth. I don't want to feel very much resistance when I pull the gun back.
Right.
Okay, so I don't close the ears in real tight, but yeah, I do pin the gun aggressively.
Yeah, I see
It's
that
just
you
the way.
put lead weights on your Farley rest, which is a heavy rest to begin with, and then because you pin it so hard, you want to lift that rear leg up off the table almost.
Well, I was shooting a rest one time that was actually happening. That's why I put the lead on there. I said, man, this is, yeah, that's a little out there, but I don't pin the gun quite that hard anymore. There's advantages to pinning a gun. I think you can probably shoot smaller groups, not pinning the gun, or just barely brushing your shoulder against it, or like some shooters do, shoot completely free recoil. The gun's just setting in the bags. I think you can shoot smaller groups that way. I think that if you're into the gun a little bit, you probably shoot better ags.
So when I used to shoot hunter rifle for score, which is also another class in the National Benchrest Shooters Association, uh, I used to pin my gun, and I don't know if you've seen this when you used to pin the gun heavy, but any loosening up of that tension between you and the stock, and as you're pinning it on the rest, the shots tend to go quite a bit in a different direction. Which direction do they move for you? Just out of curiosity.
Well, I lean into the gun hard enough that I don't push any shots down. If I lose a shot up, I'll usually know it because I'll feel the gun thump me a little bit when I pull the trigger. When it goes off, the shot will go up. I don't lose many going down. A lot of people that don't pin the gun will, if you will, shoulder the gun or get into it a little more, and then they'll push the shot down.
Yeah, they have a little bit of apprehension when they're pulling the trigger and pull up on the gun, and there goes the shot down.
Or they got 4 shots in a nice group and they get excited and they just kind of get into it. And
That's that apprehension right there. What about you, Cody? What did you use to kick our butt at 200 yards the other day?
I like the stock tape also. I shoot free recoil, so I like probably a little more tension on my front bag on my stock than Mike was talking about. But I wanted to have tension, but not to have. I wanted when I pull back on that tension, but not have to break away. So I like a little more tension. I shoot free recoil. If the conditions are really heavy and I want to shoot fast, sometimes I'll pin it. But my problem with pinning, I can shoot faster that way. But being consistent with the pressure is what I have problems with. So that's why I shoot free recoil. I think that I influence the gun less than having different shoulder pressure on it. As far as the bags, that's very similar to Mike. I like a softer bag. But I did have a question for Mike as far as on the keel of his gun and your rear bag. Do you like to have that keel sitting on the bag itself, or slightly a little gap underneath it where it's resting on the ears?
you can see underneath my gun.
Okay.
Not very much, but you can see under it. I put enough sand in the ears so that it captures it right there. And I'll tamp the gun in, I'll take and drop it. I'll push it up.
Gotcha.
Then I'll take and drop it and push it up. And if it's aiming pretty much the same place, I got it like I want it. That's something you just got to mess with until you get it the way you want it. I shoot Scarborough stocks and they're all built the same. So the bags work for any of the guns.
Gotcha.
I mean, they're all very, very similar. And that helps. I don't shoot different brands of stocks.
That also helps if you have multiple guns and you have an issue with a gun, you can take that gun out, put the other gun back in the bags, and you're not hunting to get back on target, especially if you're running low on time.
That's right.
So that's why I like to shoot. When I go to the match, I like to shoot my primary gun and the backup gun with similar stock. So just in case that happens. That happened to me out at Lubbock last year with about 4 minutes left to go. I had to go get another gun, come back, and I just put it in the rest. And luckily both guns were tuned for the same ammo. And I finished up just using the ammo for the other gun and that one, and got in just as my last shot right before they said cease fire. But if I had to have fought with that gun to get it back on target, I'd have been DQ'd. What do you find is one of the most critical things to shooting consistently?
That's got to be a Mike question because he's the most consistent shooter you're talking to.
Well, you've been shooting for quite a while too. I mean, it'd be good to hear from everybody.
For me, shooting consistent, the kind of what I've learned is that the most important thing out there is the wind flags. Trying to shoot in the same condition or hold off when the conditions are changing enough. The wind, and then keeping my rifle in tune are the two biggest things that I struggle with. Or if you do those right, where you have to have a good barrel and good bullets and a good setup and good bench manners. That's kind of a given. But the wind and keeping your rifle in tune, and those are the two that I struggle with. To be, I feel like I can call a wind good. And then like the buffalo shoot, I shot that morning and had good wind calls and didn't shoot anything big and won that yardage. And then right after that, it was 45 minutes later was the light varmint 200, and the wind conditions actually let up a little bit, and I shot bigger. And I was trying to figure out. I started changing the load, and so that was a good example of not being consistent. And right. I struggle with that.
You know, I know what your wind flags look like, and Mike's wind flag setup looks like, and there's a stark contrast between the two. Your flags are the ones from Australia, or are
No,
they?
mine are the
Yeah,
Grams.
they're the ones that kind of have
Yes,
the tail that looks like it came off a 747.
it does.
Yeah, and Mike's are the flags with the little triangle. The who am I trying to think of?
Smiley.
The
Smiley,
yeah,
Smiley
smiley.
Hennessy flags. And you also use the wind probes in conjunction with your flags, don't you, Mike?
Yeah, I use wind probes. I mean, at the Buffalo, I don't think probes help a whole lot because in my mind, they don't do much good on headwinds and tailwinds. And most of what we shot was coming pretty much into us.
Right.
Sometimes it'd come from the right, but so I'm not looking at the probes much there.
Yeah.
I do like,
When you do feel the probes are critical to your shooting, uh, how do you use them? I know how I use them, but I use them more to tell me when not to shoot than when to shoot. That, or I use them in conjunction when the conditions are kind of light. Uh, I'll use the probe's angle in conjunction with the tail of my smiley flag to say, okay, well, that probe is at the end of the tail. With that condition, that's pretty much a consistent condition, and I can look down the range and see all my flags, and they're all about the same position. So, I may choose that time to shoot when everything's consistent, but that's probably completely opposite of the way you look at them.
I don't know. I use wind probes to tell me when to start. And I also use wind probes to tell me when to stop. In other words, if the wind probes are sitting there and they're just bouncing back and forth like this, you're probably not going to want to shoot because that's where your bullets are going to go.
Yep.
If they will take wherever they get and just kind of hang, if the condition steadies out, that's a good time to shoot your group. Sometimes you can't pick that up on the flags quite as easily as you can pick it up on a probe.
Right.
Now, if you're shooting, say you get a condition and it's just kind of hanging, it's going like that, and the wind probe goes like that, stop.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. Just stop.
Well, that's what
They'll tell you when not to
they'll
shoot.
tell you when to shoot and when not to shoot. That's one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I use wind probes as much as anything else to tell me when to start.
That's what I was trying to wish that 9 group in there. It told me to stop, but I said, "Oh, it'll make it," but it didn't. Oh, so as far as when you're setting your flags up, I see some shooters, they'll put every vein exactly in line with each other where one hides the other. So if you see one come out of play, a lot of times you see it too late. Uh, I've seen how you do it. You kind of stagger yours from the tallest below the target and then stagger them down. Is that the way I've seen yours?
Yeah, that's the way I do mine. I also don't run them exactly straight to me. I'll pick a point a foot, 18 inches to my right. I'm a left-handed shooter.
Oh, they're kind of staggered.
I will, and what it does, it gives you a little better look at the flags. Okay.
Right.
Being left-handed, I shoot a lot of right-handed sets. I mean, if you go to the worlds, you're not going to have left-handed flags. You're gonna shoot what's dominant, and right-handed shooters are dominant. So you will get used to looking at flags that don't come straight back to you, and that's probably a good thing because, and I'll bring this up. When you look at your flags, don't look at the ones right in front of you. Look at the ones to your right or into the condition if it's coming from the right, because that's telling you what's going to come. If you're looking at the ones that are right straight in front of you, technically you're looking at history because it's already acting on those flags. If there's going to be a change, you'll see it coming from the direction the wind comes. Or you need to watch these guys here because sometimes it'll reverse and come in the other way.
Right. Well, that's how I shoot. I kind of look at the flags as what's coming is the future tense. What I'm seeing in front of me is the present tense, which doesn't give you a whole lot of time to react. And then what's the opposite or downrange from that is what's already happened. I don't really care about that unless I'm looking for a condition to reverse and coming from that direction. I told Kevin at this last little meeting we had here at the shop that, you know, I do exactly what you just described. I'm looking downrange to see what's coming. To me, that's a block of time. And when I see those flags finally hit my my flag right there, that says if everything's still the same downrange, I said, well, I've got that much time to shoot my group, you know. And it's easier to shoot to kind of like a pickup as that's moving on than just trying to pick through that stuff, especially like those conditions we had out in Midland to me this weekend.
Yeah, they weren't easy conditions to pick your way through.
Yeah.
The conditions were strong enough that you couldn't reliably read them. So what you need to do is take a trend and stay within a particular trend and shoot your group in that trend or in that window,
Right.
and you do a lot better.
Yeah.
Were you shooting?
What
Were
about
you?
you? I think when I've looked at your flags, Cole, they're more like I was describing, all in line, where like one's hiding the other one, or do you stair step them down?
No, I do very similar. I'm a you know a right-handed shooter, so I sit on the left side of the bench, and I angle my flags from the corner of the bench to my target, and so that's not much of a flare, but there's a little bit of an angle. They're not perfectly in line with me, and I stair step them down. I usually do about a half of. I have a little aiming device, a little 6-power scope that I set on the bench, and I step down each flag a half a flag from the one before it, so I can. And then when you're so that's at the bench level. And when you're setting up, you're looking a little different. So I can probably see 3/4 of each of my flags. Uh, so very similar. I've uh, occasionally I'll set them up directly in line with perfectly in line, but I still stair step them so I can see them. Uh,
Yeah, well, I said Mike and I were both left-handed. We both shoot pretty similar. With I set my flags one day, and then Michael came and set them out. It was out in New Braunfels, and and I thought I was looking at my flags. And I said, "God dang, I set my flags way off to the right," and I was about to move, and then I realized that they were Mike's flags, and when they were almost set at the same height, the same distance. The probes were very similar in location, so. Uh, I just dope off my flags Mike's flags when the conditions are coming from the right that day. So it helped me out quite a bit. Kevin's new to the game. He may have some, he's always coming back and saying, I just learned something from the flags. Do you have any questions for Mike or Cody as to how you might want to start off as a new guy to the game and where to set them?
Well, what I've set them up in line. I think like has been suggested to me. This last weekend, Cody and I shot together, and I sat them off to the right. I'm left-handed, so I did like that a lot. I set them up the way Cody did it, except opposite, which made it easier for us to use two different sets of flags on the same bench. What is a new shooter? Looking back, this being the beginning of my second year, I would say that I really, really, really wish that I had have like gotten you or somebody and just kidnapped you or somebody out and taken me out to the range and just sat there and shot and explain the flags, coach me through it. I would say as a new shooter, if you could have somebody do that in the beginning, that would save you a lot of misery, because it was up until this last weekend where I felt this last weekend was the first weekend that I did not completely feel bewildered and like lost. And it was a good feeling. It finally started making sense to me. Yeah, for sure.
I've got a question for you, Mike. Being a Hall of Fame member, president of the NBRSA, and what happened to my screen? Oh, there we are. And so we've been talking about flags and all, but there's always a discussion about mirage. Do you read mirage? Do you use it at all?
Yes, I do. It's like another flag. Sometimes some ranges you can shoot pretty much straight off mirage. You can shoot the mirage tells you what the wind is doing basically from 20 or 30 yards in front of you, pretty much all the way to the target. It'll give you an average condition. So if you're shooting a prevailing condition, say from the right, and there's not any berms or anything over there to disturb the air, the mirage is going to tell you the truth about what's actually happening. Okay. And the mirage also is instantaneous where flags are not, because the mirage is what's actually happening.
Yeah, it's real time wind.
Yeah, it's what's happening. In other words, you could say I can be shooting a condition coming from the right, and the mirage is moving across, and it's a 6 or 7 mile an hour push, and it looks pretty steady. And I'll push the gun up, and then I'll see the mirage bubble up or kind of fuzz up. You may not see that on the flags, but I'll promise you, when you see that, that shot's going to go left.
Yes, sir.
I mean, the mirage just told me that the wind just sped up. It just hasn't, the flags haven't reacted yet. So yeah, mirage is important. Do I shoot off of it strictly? No, I just use it as another flag. It's just another indicator. Sometimes it's telling you the truth all the time. Sometimes maybe not so much.
Yeah, when I first started paying attention to it late last year, um, I was just like I discovered a light bulb, or something like that. But I was shooting and or not, no, I was waiting to shoot, and my flags were, kicking off to the right and tails off to the right, and the mirage it like stopped, and then it started going the other way, and my flag was still going the opposite way of what the mirage is now. Anyway, I shot. And I just happened to remember that, recognize it, and I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" And sure enough, that shot went with the mirage, way out of my group. So pretty cool.
All right, guys. We just finished using the flags to shoot our group down there. They terminated the match, and they got us off the line. Now we're going back to clean our guns. What cleaning techniques do you use, Mike and Cody?
I'll go first. I use Vortex products. Usually I will push a wet patch or 2 wet patches with the eliminator through the bore. That pushes a lot of the carbon out. Then I'll take a bronze brush and saturate it with the eliminator, and I'll brush it 10 or 12 strokes. Then I'll push 2 more wet patches of eliminator out of it to push out whatever I loosened up, and I'll let the gun soak or leave that in it while I reload. I also use something to check for carbon to see if I'm building up carbon fouling. And I don't do it every time, but if I'm building up carbon, then I may use a product called IOSO, which they say it's not abrasive. I couldn't say or not say, but I suspect that it is. They say it chemically gets rid of carbon, but doesn't feel like it's chemical.
Yeah, and how do you use that?
I put it on a patch on my.
That's just a plain patch, right? No.
I use a 22 caliber Jag, and I use 1 3/4 square patches, and they fit pretty snug. And I'll put just a little bit, like maybe a spot half the size of a pencil eraser on there, and I'll smear it around. It'll make a spot about as big as a quarter. And if I'm looking to get rid of carbon, I'll scrub the very throat area of the gun 15 or 20 strokes, and then I'll stroke it out maybe a ½ inch a stroke until I'm 6 inches out, then push the patch out. I usually don't ISO the whole gun, because if you're making carbon, usually it builds up in near the chamber. And then I'll rebrush it and let it soak with the eliminator. Now that's just one product. There's any number of products that work well.
The carbon ring is often spoke about that forms in the neck. How do you address that, if at all?
With ISO, just like I described.
You use it on the patch, and
yeah, I mean, I don't seem to have much of a problem with a carbon ring. One thing I do use, Vortex makes it. It's a carbon remover, and if you'll put that stuff in there, it'll work on that carbon ring. It also works on the carbon ring.
There's been some discussion that none of the testing has been published yet, but it's been described that when we clean our guns, and I'm just going to call it like after we're through cleaning, that when we run our patches through there, be it a light oil or the Lockies like I use, or just some of the cleaning products that when we push that patch through there, the end of the neck is like a squeegee, and it squeegees some of that chemical that we're using out, leaves it there at the end of the neck, and that the process of shooting around is not depositing carbon there, but it's burning the solvent or whatever we left behind in that area. They said they've done tests where they make sure that every time that they shoot, the chemical is removed out of there with a patch with alcohol or acetone, and that carbon ring almost doesn't build up. And as soon as they start leaving whatever chemical that we're using to clean our guns left in that area, that's when that carbon ring starts to form. So, like I said, the tests haven't been released yet. I've been told that I can speak about it. So that's the latest word that I've heard, just for your own knowledge. What do you do, Cody, as far as cleaning your gun?
Oh, very similar to what Mike was said. I use the Vortec Eliminator, a couple of wet patches. I usually do that right away when I get back. I like to keep my gun over by my reloading bench. And then I'll let those just two wet patches, let the barrel sit for a little bit. I'll clean some brass, then I'll get up and I don't use a bronze brush. I use one of the blue IOSO nylon brushes, and I'll wet it and scrub it with some more eliminator, go back and do some more reloading, and then come patch it out. And I also started using some of that Vortec carbon remover. I don't do it every time, but I'll put it in there, and with that patch, I'll sit there and work the neck back and forth. And after you clean it with all the eliminator, you work that neck with that carbon remover, you'll get some of that brown on your patch.
Yeah.
And that definitely helps keeping that down. And then if it gets to where I think it's got that carbon ring, I use the Thorough Clean product, which is made by IOSO with the two different components, and that'll get it squeaky clean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after you guys are through cleaning, do you re-season the barrel with any type of lubricant, or like the Lockheed's product that I typically use? I've used some of your light oil in my barrels too with pretty good success. I don't see I can change from one to the other, and it is basically exactly the same results. Why do you feel that that's important, Mike?
Putting something back in the barrel is important simply because if you shoot a bullet over a dry barrel, it's going to strip copper. You'll deposit copper in the barrel, and that's not good for accuracy. Now, you don't have to put much in there. I only put about 3 drops of oil on a patch. And it's really light oil, and it'll disperse through the patch really quick. And all in the world that does is put something down so that first shot, you're not shooting through a dry bore. Right. After the first shot, the lubricant is the residue from your powder.
So they're using virgin or extra virgin olive oil on that?
Oh, I don't use olive oil. What I'm using is it's a real light spindle oil. It's a high speed spindle oil. It's
Benchrest number 3.
Yeah, Velicite number 3. It's really light, and I guess the reason I use it is I got a gallon of it, and it's a lot cheaper than the Lockheed's.
Well, you don't have exactly a gallon because I stole some of it. So,
I like the coil.
What about you, Cody? What do you?
I have the Lockheed's and the Croil, and I'll go back and forth between the two. For the years, it was the Croil oil, really thin, penetrating, and I still carry it in my cleaning box. And sometimes I'll use it, and sometimes I'll use the Lockheed's, and I don't really know to tell you which one I pick, but I always put something back down it after I get it clean.
Yeah, I chastise Kevin for using the other one, threw all his solvents in the trash can. So everybody knows that I use a patch out with accelerator, and I said, yeah, I have real good results with that. And I've tried them all. I've tried the eliminator and all that, but it just seems that time is so critical nowadays for reloading, especially now that we're using the powder dispensers, be it the V2 or the V3 or the super trickler or the auto trickler. Uh, those take up a lot of time, and I find that by using the patch out with the accelerator, the accuracy on my particular gun, maybe I can't shoot any better, but I don't see a whole lot of difference between the two when I'm through cleaning. I use either the Lockies or some of the light oil that Mike gave me, the Velocite #3, and it works real good. I said it gets you right back to point of impact real quick. You don't have to shoot 3 or 4 shots to get the gun where it's shooting again. But Kevin was using some of the eliminator, and I said I was just joking with him and threw all his products in the trash can because he wasn't using the patch out with accelerator. So
Wasn't following the
whatever he wants,
program.
I don't really care. I'm just joking with him.
I wasn't following the program.
Well, let's see here. We've talked about cleaning. Uh, Cody, you want to tell us a little bit about the club that we have here in New Braunfels, the Hill Country Shooter Association, the club match we've got coming up, and the registered match. I guess it's the only registered match that we hold in a year.
Yeah, I love to. We, the name of the club is the Hill Country Shooters, and we have a website, hillcountryshooters.com. It has our match schedule on there, and it kind of has the way we run a match. We hold 7 club matches during the year, starting in March and going to September. Usually it's the 3rd Sunday of the month. We run it 1 and 200 yards, similar to a registered match, except we don't get real picky about the weight of your guns, but we run it in the same format. We shoot 100 and 200, usually 200 in the morning. The mirage can get a little tough. You don't have to be a member of the range or a member of the club to come shoot it. So I invite anybody who's interested in the area to come down and bring any gun you have. We have people bringing the deer rifles, F-class guns, want to come and shoot with us. We'd love to have you. And then we hold, this month, because of Easter, our club match is the 4th Sunday, which is this coming Sunday. But usually it's the 3rd Sunday of every month. And then the week after that, the first week in May, we have the Blue Bonnet match, which is a registered match. So we follow all the NBRSA protocols with the moving backer. The guns have to be, meet the criteria of the classes you're shooting. That's a good group of guys. Here in the Gulf Coast region or in the Texas, the 3 ranges that hold the registered matches is the Blue Bonnet. The Dietz. We have that 1 registered match. Mike has 2 up in Midland, and then Kelly Mormon has 2 matches up in Lubbock. So anybody in that area, I'm sure, can contact those people and talk to them about the sport. If you're around the San Antonio, New Braunfels area, my information is on the website, hillcountryshooters.com. You can contact me.
We also have and probably would invite people to come out and see how we actually load outside. We've had a lot of the F-class shooters who wanted to learn to load outside the way we do in order to come down and do the load development for their guns in real time conditions where you don't think that you've got a pretty good load, go back home, reload it, try to come back with completely different environmentals, and then find out that, well, that load didn't shoot that good, and it could be just the environmental change from one day to the other. But it's real. We've had Pat Wood, who's back here on the back over here. We've got a bunch of his gold medals. He started shooting that manner. He shot with the club, a year and a half?
Yep.
And he did that just to learn how to do load development outside and to load outside, and he practices that to this day, I think, as well as a lot of members of his team. His F-class team has won 3 national titles in a row now, so they're kicking some ass around the F-class circuit. But there's different ways to approach Benchrest. One might just be from a reloading standpoint, see how we do it, do load development for your hunting rifles, varmint rifles. What else, Cody?
Well, you know, I get tickled when we get some of those F-class shooters, or even some of the long range shooters. We've had a couple of those guys that just can't believe we have to have all those flags between our bench and because the bullet, it's only 100 yards, and they shot someone and they're like, you know, because the groups, we're trying to put them all in one hole. And so, you know, that little bit matters. And most of the people, the new shooters, are just amazed at how much the wind really moves the bullet at 100 yards. And that's something that a lot of people open their eyes up when they come shoot.
Yeah, they bring all those high BC bullets with larger calibers, and they think it just looks the wind all the way out to 100 yards, and they can't believe how big their groups are at 100 yards, you know, and they're trying to hit a 2.5 inch circle at 600 yards or a 5 inch circle at 1,000 yards, you know. Henry Nell was one of the last shooters that came up and was just really surprised as to how much those bullets moved around. What do you think, Mike? You got any words of encouragement to those people who are thinking about, you know, just looking at the sport with maybe just some interest and then maybe coming out and participating? How do y'all run the matches out in Midland for the club matches?
Club matches, they can shoot whatever they want. If somebody has a gun, they'll loan them. We'll loan them a gun.
Yeah.
We've had people shoot their F-class guns in them. We've had, you know, pretty much anything they want to shoot. When we shoot club matches, we don't care. Just a lot like Cody said, the idea is just to get them interested. If they want to get interested in shooting registered short range group matches, just remember you're doing it to have fun. I mean,
we
don't
do
ever
have
lose.
a lot of fun out there. I mean, on ours, you know, we have small group pots, and we're always trying to steal money from the other guy. Sometimes you come home empty-handed, but sometimes you feel, you know, that you did pretty good when you won several small group pots and see that, you know, I did pretty good over the course of the day.
Yeah.
Well, you know, in Midland, we'll go ahead.
I was going to say, I would suggest to anybody that's going to come out and check it out, do not come out and just watch. This is not a spectator sport. Bring your gun. That's my advice. Bring your gun, shoot, bring enough ammo, and just shoot, and you'll have a blast.
Oh yeah, and all the shooters there are so helpful. You don't have to know the format. Well, all of it, everybody, and not just our club, but anywhere I've shot, you couldn't ask for a more helpful group of guys that legitimately want to help you succeed, and a very, very good group of people.
This is true. I've been with shooting Benchrest now for over 45 years, but in that whole time, any club that I ever went to for the first time, especially when I was a newbie, kind of like Kevin, I mean, I was welcome in like I was their long lost brother. You know, they just come here, look at this, and they're willing to share everything with you. You know, sit down and watch them load. I mean, it's just, to me, it's one of the greatest brotherhoods that in a sport that I like to participate, that just makes you feel at home regardless of where you go.
Yeah, it does do that. That's probably the big draw to it, is the people, to me. In 2019, I got my 10th point, and in 2020, they inducted me in the Hall of Fame. And one of the things I said, they asked you to speak. One of the things that I said was, this isn't all about winning. I mean, I got in this to find something to do. And what I found was some of the best people that I've ever met.
Another thing that we were talking about, Mike, that was the elephant in the room. What about that elephant? Don't eat the whole elephant at one time.
Oh yeah. If you're into this game and you want to get better, you're not going to do it overnight. Take aspects of the game. Say in your flag reading, you're not very good about reading your first flag. You're not paying attention to the first flag, and you get a condition change on the first flag and you don't pick it up and you lose a shot, and you notice that that's happening. Work on that until you get that down. and then worry about something else that you see that's causing you not to shoot small. In other words, don't try to eat the whole elephant at one bite. You know, pick your bites, work on one item at a time. This is there's so many ways for things to go wrong in this game. You can't fix it all at once. Just like if you're going to make a load change, typically don't make a powder change and a seating depth change at the same time, because you're probably not going to know which one fixed it. You know, just work on one thing at a time. When you see the result that you need from that and you're satisfied with what you got, pick out the thing that's bothering you next worst. Just work your way through until you get rid of all your mistakes.
Well, that's usually how I approach a match. You know, when I think you and I had spoke earlier about starting out with a big group on the first one. You know, a lot of people get mad and want to quit at that point. You know, I've not been a quitter, so I will continue to work until that very last shot to overcome that one group, to tune my rifle where it shoots a little bit better, and you know, just keep on trying to tear the rest of the guys down as I'm trying to crawl my way back out of the hole. You know, so you said the same thing today, that how many matches have we won starting out with a big group?
Oh, a lot. But that first target's only 5% of your targets. I mean, it's just one target.
Right.
You got
Well,
19 more chances to shoot good.
And the other thing I like to, for new shooters is you know, it takes time. You, unlike other sports where they have beginners and intermediates. When you go to some of these club matches or a registered match like up there in Midland, we were just at the Buffalo. There's 4 or 5 Hall of Famers there. There's world team members. That's a tough group of guys. So as a new shooter, don't get discouraged that you're not beating those guys. Those guys have been doing it for years, and the best way is to set goals for yourself, and not you know, I'm going to win a match. It's more to do with your aggregate, and keep improving on that. That's what I found works to keep people interested. Is don't get discouraged.
Well, Mike can probably attest to this. When we would go to the Nationals and you had Tony Boyer there guarding the gates to the 3-gun and the 4-gun and possibly any points towards the Hall of Fame, you know, you didn't quit just because he was there. You know, you shot to try to, you know, match his performances and hopefully exceed it, you know, and I was lucky enough to do it a few times, as was Mike, you know, and you know, in my conversation with Tony, you know, he's always mentioned Mike is a tough guy to shoot against, you know, so probably Mike can attest to that same situation when we were shooting in the Nationals when Tony was on top of his game.
When Tony was on top of his game, day in, day out, there wasn't anybody any harder to beat. He's a consummate shooter. He's also a consummate gentleman. When he got beat, he'd be the first one to shake your hand.
Exactly. Well, and when I got inducted into the Hall of Fame, he gave me a hug that, you know, almost a father would have given his son, you know, so he knew how hard I had worked for it and how hard I had tried to beat him, you know, so he was pretty excited when I got those last few points.
I bet he was.
Kevin, you have any questions that you want to ask Mike or our club president? I know we see him all the time, but in a match situation, we don't get to sit down and talk like this. And you know, you're looking at progressing in the sport yourself. You got me to badger all the time, so badger those two guys for a while.
So, Mike, how long was it before you won your first yardage match?
First yardage, about 3 years. My first 2-gun, in other words, the first weekend match, about 8. It didn't happen overnight.
I'll be right back, guys. I got a guy at the door. Keep going.
Okay.
Was there anything, Mike, that was it just years of practice, or did you have an epiphany that all of a sudden you learned something and now you're winning 2 guns and have all the success you've had since then?
I don't know. It happened in New Braunfels. I think that's one of the hardest ranges in the Gulf Coast region to shoot. And for whatever reason, I was seeing what was going on that day or that weekend. I I never shot anything big. I outlasted everybody. I had a gun that was shooting relatively well, and I finally had a weekend where I showed up and didn't make a bunch of mistakes.
I had a question for you that something Speedy didn't touch on is how would you categorize your shooting skill, your shooting technique, as far as are you a runner, a picker, or do what the conditions ask for, either or?
When I started having success, I was a runner. I was a serious runner, but I shot mostly in Midland, and we didn't have the tall berms we have now, so you could look upwind and you could get a good read on what's coming. So I may look over there and I may see what's over there to my right, and I said, I can get off 3 shots before I got to worry about a big change. So I would shoot 3 shots, and after the 3rd shot, I'd look back to see what's coming. In other words, I would speed, if you will. I would, I mean, while I'm still looking, I'm not looking very hard. I'm trying to get it done. I'm a runner. Now, the berms are taller in Midland now, so now you got to pay attention. The way you shoot is going to have a whole lot to do with where you live. Every time I go back east of the Mississippi River and shoot a match, it's like I got to learn to shoot again. In other words, I have to retrain myself. I know the way I approach a match, I need to change. The way, the things I do, I'm a little more deliberate. I'm paying more attention to the flags because the changes are more subtle and they're not nearly as consistent. In other words, you'll get changes at the front end of the range that you would never see in Midland, Texas, or you would never see in New Braunfels, but you'll see them there, so you have to be aware of it. And, it causes you to slow down a little bit. Yeah, I'm probably a runner. People say that I still shoot my groups pretty fast, but I've slowed down some over the years. And I think it's made me overall a better shooter.
How long did it take you before you felt like you got a handle on the flags? Like,
Hadn't got a handle on the flags yet.
Yeah. Mike and I were talking about that Midland match. Like, what happened to the condition? Everything exactly 180 degrees opposite of what it usually does.
Yeah, there's times that you'll have weekends. It's just like in Midland, typically when the wind blows into you, as it picks up in velocity, it pushes the bullet down. At the match we just got through shooting, I was having shots go up, and I could not figure out why. And then Speedy comes up and says, yeah, same thing's happening to me. I said, well, at least it makes me feel good. I thought I'd lost my mind. It's just,
we tuned our guns backwards.
What normally happens here. Still don't know why.
Yeah, that was very, very weird right there. So I guess I'll ask one more question of you guys, and then we'll wrap it up for the night because we've got the video of the match to attach to our video right now. So when you look into the future, what type of goals and strategies do you set for yourself to prepare like you, Mike, you're getting ready for the World Championships, which are held. They're right after the Nationals, correct?
Correct.
Well, you'll go to St. Louis, you'll shoot the Nationals, and then you'll shoot the World Championships right after that. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So what are you doing now in preparation for that? Because, I mean, that seems like a few months away, but it'll be right on your doorstep in no time whatsoever.
I put fresh barrels on 2 of my guns. I'll put fresh barrels on 2 more. And if I find a gun that stands out, I'll put that gun back for the bigger matches. But as far as shooting, what I'm looking for right now is just to build consistency in what I do. In other words, learn how not to have a good day and a bad day. Learn to be consistent from day to day.
All right.
That's what I'm working on right now as much as anything else, trying to get big swings out of the way.
And how much effort do you put into that a week or a month?
Well, seeing how the wind blows like thunder around here this time of year, it's kind of hard to do much of anything. Just like there's going to be a match not this weekend, but next weekend, New Braunfels. And I would love to go out and shoot, but I want to be looking at 15 to 20 mile an hour winds the whole time I'm here.
Yeah.
So that means
have those in New Braunfels plus rain.
Yeah, I know it, but
Yep.
that's different. That's a match. You're not trying to figure out what a gun's doing. You're trying to beat the guy next to you. He's got the same problems you do. Whenever you're preparing for a match, you're trying to figure out what your equipment's doing. And it's hard to do in rough conditions.
All right.
In other
So,
words, I can go out and generally I can get an hour or maybe 2 hours of a morning where the conditions are readable. After that, they kind of get unreadable.
so if you had to give some advice to a new shooter as to what type of a strategy that they might want to employ at a new range or what to look for, what might you advise that new shooter or old
If you're
shooter?
looking for if you're looking for conditions, look for what is most prevalent. Look at what you have the most of. And it may not be what you think is the most shootable, but if it stays there long enough for you to get you a group off, then that's what you want to shoot in. I mean, there's no sense in shooting an easy condition 3 shots and have to finish it in something much different for 2 shots. Find something you can get your group shot in and shoot that. You'll be better at the end of the weekend.
So, I always say that you have to prepare to put yourself in a position to win, and then you have to learn how to win. What do you do when you put yourself in that position to win and you're going and maybe into your last match that potentially could give you that victory? Do you do anything different, or how do you say I just need to do the same thing I've been doing? How do you prepare yourself mentally, if at all, for that situation once it presents itself to you or offers itself to you?
If you're in a position to win a 2 gun, forget about the last 19 matches you shot. Go out and shoot one match. Look at the conditions, figure out what the conditions are good for. Don't try to steal anything. Try to shoot what the conditions will give you. If it's your day and you do your job, you'll win. If it's not your day, there's nothing you can do. Somebody else is going to beat you.
Right. Well, we've talked about that too, that you've done the best you can possibly do and you wind up third place, and
And that's okay.
you go home feeling good about your performance. You're a little disappointed that you didn't bring home any wood, but you don't feel that your guns let you down or you let yourself down. It just somebody had that better day or had the luck of the Irish with them on that day.
Ultimately, you shoot against yourself. So at the end of the day, if you shoot clean, you don't have a lot of unforced errors. You don't make a lot of loading errors. Maybe you learned something that weekend that range showed you that you'd never seen before. Yeah, that's the takeaway from it.
Right. So,
I mean,
Cody
at the end of
and
the day,
Kevin, you guys were down on the end with John Horn, and you could see everybody struggling. John just two groups in the zeros, like, where's the win? Uh, but you did win the 200-yard heavy varmint. So the first 4 matches, you did something to put yourself in position to win, and yet you still had to shoot that last group to win. Did you do anything different, or what did you tell yourself when you're going up the line on that final match, knowing that I had blabbed to you that you had the thing in the bag?
Well, I've been in that position before, and I think my mindset, I got nervous, and I think I changed my mindset to shoot not to lose.
Yeah.
And that is not, you do the same thing you've done in the previous 4 matches. And so I purposely, sometimes if I'm doing okay, I'll go up and look at my targets on the wailing wall, but I don't go look at the score sheet to see where I stack against everybody else. And I think that's something that just comes with time, that you can do that and it doesn't affect you. It's affected me in the past, and I've got nervous and don't lose, and next thing you know, you pull one out, half-inch away or something. So just do what you've been doing. And like Mike said, as far as goals, being consistent, that was one of my goals. That and learning how to shoot that darn railgun a little better. That's something that I want to try to get a handle on.
So have you done your due diligence with that rail and maybe dissected it to see where the issues might be?
No, I need to get it out. and retorque everything and check it. And actually, Kevin and I were just talking about that earlier today about maybe doing that, us getting together and shooting the rail gun before the first match up there in Lubbock, the Horn Toad, is in a couple of months. And just don't leave them sitting in the closet and take them out twice a year and expect to be an expert on them. So put a little more time into it. It's something I need to do.
Well, Kevin, what about you? You've got the rest of the year coming up. You actually, I don't want to rat you out, but you had your really first successful weekend in your career to this point. You didn't have any, big issues that knocked you out of the competition or gun issues or anything like that. So, that should give you a little bit more encouragement going forward in the year.
That's a win.
Yeah, it's a lot of. I mean, there's a lot of little things, and I've found a way to pretty much. I'm sure there's more to experience, but I've experienced a lot. So penalties, just there's a couple matches where probably 3 or 4 maybe matches where I was shooting pretty good. I would start out good, and like you were saying, I go to the leaderboard or see where I was ranked, and that was a kiss of death for me.
Yep.
I think there was one time in Lubbock or Midland in the last year in the light varmint, and I think through 3 matches, I forget I think it must have been 100. I was first place, and then man, I just my groups kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and I don't really know how to keep a gun in tune yet. I'm trying to learn, so I don't know if that was it or if it was me cracking up. But yeah, and Gary Bristow, man, he just passed me up like I was like I was sitting still at the end. I think 1 or 2 more passed me up to. I think that last match I dropped a couple, and then a couple club matches. But yeah, what Speedy was saying is you got to learn how to win. And but yeah, for me, it's not looking at the leaderboard. I'm too new to really be doing that anyway, but it helps me a lot if I just go look at my groups and don't look at other people and just, because I know what I want to shoot. And but yeah.
That's another thing I like about the sport myself is that you can be struggling out there, and then you have people like Cody and Mike and John Horn and Cody. I mean Gary Bristow and Charles Huckabee and Scott Haywood. That if you're struggling, a lot of times they'll offer you a little bit of advice for about how to shoot the range or maybe what to do with your load. And these are the guys that you're shooting against, and yet they're out there helping you to win and beat them. And that's another thing that I like about the sport. I remember one time I saw a little group out there in Lubbock and looked up, and Mike was handing me his gun. One of the things thought that I was having gun problems. I had finished my group, so. You remember that, Mike?
Yep.
Yeah, I was finished, and he was there. Here's the gun. Here, finish your group. I said, I'm already finished. But that's the kind of people that we're fortunate enough to shoot with. They're wanting to beat you, but they don't want to see you struggle and fail because of a gun issue or something like that. So we're a pretty unique group of guys, and I said I've loved the sport. It's been good to me, and I said, here's 3 guys that anytime you need help, I guarantee you, Mike would give the shirt off his back. I know Cody will, and I know for sure Kevin Love will. So, anyway, guys, I guess we'll wrap it up. We'll put this together with the rest of the video so that the listeners and the viewers can see a little bit of the match we shot and some of the guys that we shoot with. And we'll try to do this for the Blue Bonnet shoot and some of the other shoots across Texas this year, just to let the public see how much fun we have doing it. Mike, I appreciate you coming on. You have anything else to say to the membership or to the new possible participants in the sport?
Yeah, come to New Braunfels in a week and a half. We'll show you a good time.
Yeah. What about you, Cody?
Yes, don't be intimidated. Come out if you've got a local range next to you, or come out and shoot a Benchrest match. You don't have to have a Benchrest gun. See if it's something for you, and you will meet the best group of guys. So don't be scared to come shoot a match.
And I'm sure Kevin probably like some newbie to come out there so he can have somebody to beat.
Yeah, no, we got a match this coming Sunday. I'd say come out. Don't come and watch. Bring your gun and shoot. I've shot for years by myself and with friends, but when when you're competing, man, it's just fun. It's just, it makes it 10 times more fun. So I hope to see some new people come out for sure.
All right. Well, guys, I appreciate you coming on this evening and hope to do this a little bit more over the course of the year with some of the other guys. I'm going to see if I can do an interview with John Horn, who walked away with the Buffalo this past weekend. He really had a good weekend. So I thank you. God bless you. God bless all the viewers, and keep them small, guys. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.